Hello, everybody. Welcome to EduTap. And today we are here to celebrate the journey of one such topper who prepared and cleared ADI Grade A 2024 examination along with a hectic job. We have Mr. Praveer with us, Mr. Praveer Pandey, who had cleared his BTech in mining in 2021 from NIT Raipur. And after that, he worked in Tata Steel for some time. And after that, after 3 years, he switched job to another organization, an MNC, and a very hectic one, I would say. And but still, he had that dedication to clear this examination, to prepare for it, and it's the result today. We will dive into more about into more his journey by listening to himself. But let's just welcome his first. Hi, Praveer. Welcome on EduTab, and we wish you congratulations on your big achievement.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Glad to be here today.
All right. So let's talk about it. First of all, even before starting, I really want to ask, right? You were in a very good company, right? And you were having a stable life, and then you decided to prepare for exam, and that too, such an examination which requires a lot of rigorous study, right? So first of all, how did you get into that mindset? No, I have to prepare. And secondly, I definitely know it's very difficult to maintain with your job, right? How did you manage that?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, one of the major reasons why I started preparing for these exams was I was looking for the long-term stability because I know even though I'm in good companies, MNCs, but down the line I have to be somewhere which will aid me towards maybe 50s or 60s. So I thought
Yeah.
these are the jobs plus learning perspective as well. These are the jobs that will give me a higher perspective and exposure and things like that. Now coming to maintaining the things with job, yes, it was very hectic to be precise. But what I used to do is I try to make routine. Most of the times it doesn't used to be like that, but I used to try like every day I used to take out at least 30 minutes or give at least one quiz. And most I used to capitalize on the weekends that I used to get. But every day I used to stick like 30 minutes even I were able to study. I guess that would do it.
Right. What you really want to say to the aspirants, who are in middle of studies, and especially the working aspirants, and when things are not going right, they start to have those second thoughts that should I really prepare for the exam? Is it really necessary?
So yes, ma'am, that is I have been through that, so I can relate it very well. So I guess routine is very important. So when the days when you don't want to study, those are the days that become very important when you score some extra marks down the line to the examination. So I believe that are the days. So if you stick to a routine, even though it's a bad day, I can completely relate. Even there are certain weekends when I was not able to study,
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, but there's a routine. I have to sit and do something. At least a little bit will add up when it will be the final game.
Right, to have a routine, to be consistent and disciplined with the studies will fetch you result, if not short, but in long term for sure. All right, so let's talk about phase one first. So to the students who don't know, so there are two phases, like three phases, third being the interview for this examination. First phase, it's qualifying in nature. We have quants, reasoning, English, and general awareness. Then in phase two, we have three descriptive writing papers. We have English, we have ES, economy and social issues with impact on insurance, and finally, third subject, insurance and management, right? So it's a lot, right? So starting off with the phase one, let's talk about quant, reasoning, and English. Let's club them together because these three are mostly common in all the examinations, right? So, what was your strategy for it? And after that, we will talk about general awareness.
Okay, ma'am. For quant reasoning in English, I majorly focus on solving the questions. So I believe like practice is the key, and you have to maintain the accuracy when you're going to such examination when the time is less and you have to solve as much questions as possible. Then accuracy is the key. And I also believe like quant reasoning in English is one of the fact that also helped me to sail when there were hectic days when you don't want to study or cram up or read about something. Solving, taking out a pen and paper and solving questions, help you release the stress and you
Right.
will be able to get along. So I will majorly focus on questions when it comes to quant reasoning in English and mock tests at the end, as many as I can give.
Right. So quants, reasoning, English, all they have 40 questions each with respective
Hmm.
1 mark for all the question, right? So isn't it tempting, like especially for quants or maybe reasoning, if I have to say that there are puzzles or there are certain questions where you are in the middle of solving it and then you cannot get the answer, right? But some you can say that aspirant ego that comes in between and you get stubborn and you're like, no, I will solve this question, right? Have you ever faced this problem? Or what do you suggest to aspirant that what should be their strategy while giving the exam? Like preparing is a different thing, but while giving exam, that what did best for you? That how did you manage how to segregate time? And yeah, more about it.
Yeah, completely agree with this. There are times, and I have done this mistake in previous examinations as well. When you are stuck in a question and you spend 5-10 minutes, and that cost you very heavily, and you miss the marks by cut off by 7-8 marks. So
Yeah.
what I did this time was, there were 160 questions and 120 minutes was the time. Four sections was there. So my strategy was, I have to complete GA and the English portion in 30 minutes, and I have to spare 90 minutes for quant and reasoning. And again, in quant and reasoning, I have divided 40 minutes each. So, like, I have practiced in the mock test, like, no matter in which question I am, how much solved I have the question, but I just, as the 40 minutes will be over, I'll switch to the another section. And the last 10 minutes I've kept, even if any sectional goes awry, I can go back to the particular section and solve extra questions to just make sure the sectional cutoff is also cleared. And
Right.
I made sure in all the mock tests I follow this strategy. So I implemented the same.
Right, right. Okay, so that was for quant reasoning and English. And if talking about general awareness, like what sort of questions are asked? Because general awareness is very vast, right? So, what is there was like, for example, emphasis on insurance, or there were all sorts of questions that were asked.
All sort of questions were there. For insurance, there were just two or three questions which were very basic and factual. And one of the thing that I found, there were some questions related to static area as well, like basic GK and all these stuffs. And current affairs was there, but very limited. And schemes were also just two to three questions. So I believe, like, solving as many questions, what I did was I used to solve MCQs.
Hmm.
I've subscribed to the EduTap, so there was current tap MCQ. So I
Yeah.
had not time to go through the PDFs and read about the magazine, because they were a very short amount of time that I had for particular day. So I used to practice these MCQs and go on revising. And in the solutions also, there's a detailed analysis given on the particular situation. And
Right.
so I think MCQ solve as many as you can from anywhere you can get it. I think that will help in GA.
Right. And based on your experience, the questions that are asked in general awareness, are they statement based or they're like one-liner straightforward questions that are there?
Mostly one liner.
All right. So that was one-liner. So in fact, it becomes, I think, in exam also, it is easier to attempt general awareness because it would be more like either you know or you don't know.
Yes, yes, and they will take very less time. Hardly in 5 to 10 minutes, you will be able to skim through all the 40 questions.
Right. And English were the question like the usual ones, reading comprehension, error detection, idioms, and vocabulary based. What this was
Yes,
the
yes, ma'am.
pattern?
Yes, basic level English questions were there.
Right. So English, like which is asked in almost all the examination, that
Sebi
sort
Nabat
only.
kind of English was there. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
just
All
have
right,
to
all
read and
right,
answer.
all right. So, so for phase one, you practiced as much MCQs as possible. You have given as much mock test as possible so that you can manage time, and you can also get an idea or practice for the exam, and that
Yes.
worked for you. All right. So then after phase one, you immediately started preparing for phase two, or after result only, or maybe before the exam, before phase one also you were preparing for this phase two.
I started preparing just after the phase one examination. So my phase one went well. So I thought I will be able to clear it. So I started descriptive writing just after phase two and reading at the same time.
Right, right. So I believe phase one is still easier to do with job, although it has its own difficulty. But here you were practicing more, right? But now coming to phase two, now you have to first of all start off with a very new chapter, insurance, and then management as well, right? But still, if you compare, insurance is completely new, right? And along with that, you have to learn to have good handwriting. You have to learn how to write answers and everything. So how much how you extracted that time from your organization or or from the MNC where you were working. And also I want to ask that did you used to study in between your office breaks as well?
No, in the office, I barely had any time. So for descriptive, again, I made sure like I have to write at least 1 hour a day, whatever I write. So in the beginning, I was reading about insurance and everything, so I couldn't write those answers. So I started with English. So English answers I used to write, and I've done like one answer or two answers a day for the rest of the 45-50 days that were there between phase one and phase two. And as the exam went nearby, I increased with INM and ESI portion as well.
Right. All right. All right. So we'll just now touch every topic one by one so that
Okay.
aspirants can have clarity, like what sort of questions can you expect, right? Starting
Hmm.
off with ESI, with emphasis on insurance, right? So here, the questions that are asked, are they more static based questions in the examination, or if you're doing current affairs, then only you will be able to answer them?
Mostly questions were direct and static. You can just go through the syllabus and answer these questions.
Right. And in fact, here also the questions were straightforward, or like in-depth knowledge you have to acquire to understand and then answer the questions.
No, ma'am. I like 80% to 90% of the questions were straightforward.
All right, all right. And similar for insurance and management, right? For example, I want to ask that you started preparing after phase one only, right? So
Mm-hmm.
insurance, these are the subjects that you had to start from scratch, and simultaneously you have to practice for descriptive writing also, right? So did you have any ratio of the time that you are going to spend to static and descriptive writing? Or you first completed static and then went towards the descriptive part of the exam?
So, ma'am, I was writing the English answers on a daily basis, and for the weekends, I used to read about insurance management and ESI portion. So, for the 2 full days, I used to read, and rest of the days, I used to answer, write those descriptive.
Right. So initially it must have been difficult to answer the questions because like if you started on the weekends and you're studying insurance management on the weekends, and then on weekdays if you're doing mock tests, right? So sometimes it might has happened that you're not able to answer the question that have been asked to you, might not have studied about it. So didn't that shake your confidence anyhow that I still don't know the answer, and then maybe students with full time dedication they are preparing for this exam?
Yes, definitely. Even I remember when I started writing, I barely used to write a page, and that used to take around 25 to 30 minutes.
Hmm.
So I had second thoughts a lot of time, like how I'm going to manage and write and complete the whole paper with everything. But I regained my confidence. I will write whatever I'll write. I'll just write. I start with
Yeah.
the essays, letters. So that helped me the speed and the confidence. Then I moved into paper two and paper three. So English boosted my confidence that yes, I can write and fluently I can do that. But
Right.
yes, it's difficult in starting.
So, and along with the content, did you focus on your handwriting also? Like it should be neat and clear, or you were more like, no, I have to provide just good content. I'll just highlight the important key points and that would be it.
No, I focus on handwriting like very much. It should be
Right.
clear and readable.
Yeah, and what would you suggest that what should be approached? And yeah, one thing I want to clarify for other regulatory body exams, it's like the online descriptive happens, but here questions are made visible on the screen, but you have to write the answers like in a pen and paper format, right? So
Mhm.
there are various ways by which aspirants they would like to write their answers, especially when it's pen and paper. Some would want to go for paragraphs, some would want to go for points, some would make flow charts and such stuff to make the to clear what they want to convey. Which one type of aspirant were you, and what you feel like is can be the easiest way to write?
Okay, ma'am. So I went with the mixture of paragraph and the points. So I used to give an introduction in the paragraph. Then I used to move to the headers and subheaders. Then again, I used to end it with a paragraph that is the conclusion. And
Yeah.
coming to the diagrams and everything, I thought I believe in keeping things simple. So I haven't made any such diagrams or flowcharts. And what I believe is you will be provided with a ruled copy, A4 size ruled copy. So if we
Yeah.
try to make this diagrams and flowcharts, it would be difficult in examination. So if you want to do, a person has to practice well. And like
True.
one more thing that I felt is the space is limited for each answer. So if you started writing and you realize that you're writing the wrong answer, there's no option you can cut and you can use the space
Yeah,
for another answer. So you have to be very much sure what we're supposed to write, and then you have to write. So that is again a big challenge.
right. Yeah, yes, that is truly said that you should keep things simple. And one more thing, like you highlighted, which I want to talk about, you said that how the page is limited, and you should avoid making mistakes because then you don't have any space to write, right? But also adding to that, I want to ask, like there are three papers and there's no break in between, right? So it's very challenging when you move ahead with time and with papers that your mind, it's in the clear position to think and write about. There are chances of committing mistakes and stuff, right? So how did you channelized your preparation for it, or how did you have that mindset in the exam?
So, ma'am, again, I believe practice is the key here. So, I practiced the exact similar kind of environment, three papers on a single stretch without a break at the same time as well. If I remember, it's 2 to 5. That was the exam. So, for the last 1 week, I was writing three consecutive papers for 2 to 5 at the same time, if it's not my office day. And I
Mm.
used to take around 50 to 55 minutes, so that for the rest 5 minutes I can take a breather and clear my mind and focus on the next paper. Because if you're just
Yeah,
writing and move to the next paper, the lethargy will not help you go ahead, and it will also restrict your thoughts. So I believe there's even if 1 or 2 minute breather that you can take between the papers, that will definitely help you clear your mind and get some more thoughts.
very, very, very true. Right. And lastly, if that I want to touch about this particular descriptive writing part, right? So as there's like limited page, right? And only in that you can write. So there's no need of counting the words, right? But I want to ask, like, while you were preparing for this examination, at that time you had certain limits that I should convey my answer in a crisp manner so that I can in exam I can help, or during the exam you prepared as much as you can and then you then edited that in your head while you were writing the actual answers.
So, ma'am, just before writing, I saw what is the space provided for the answer, and what I thought was like whatever the space has been provided, the examiner expects us to write for the particular space. So I ensured that I use whole of the spaces. I shouldn't leave even a single line,
Yeah.
and I wrote whatever the space has been provided and adjusted my content accordingly. So all the major headers are covered for a particular answer.
Right. And the questions that you did in the mock test, do you really think that the fodder material that was provided in it, or the feedbacks that were provided in it, those were pretty much, similar to what was asked in the examination and helped you in somehow?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Definitely. Whatever we go to the Fodel material concept notes, you can expect direct question. Just the language will be changed, and it will
Yeah.
directly on the examination.
Right. So after phase two, then were you expecting call for interview, or you just focus then again back on your company and your work?
Okay, so that was very difficult period, more than the exam, I would say, because even in objective part, you were sure like these are the questions you have
Yeah.
attempted, and you can get an estimate. But for
Yeah.
descriptive, there is no such estimate. You just have to be confident. Yes, I'll clear it. So I've completed my answers and written beautifully. So I was expecting, yes, I might be on the list.
Yeah. All right. So then you waited for result to prepare for the interview, or you thought about started after the
Mm,
phase two only?
I waited for the result, then I started.
All right. And then afterwards, like when you got the interview call, then what was your plan next? Like how you divided your time for the current affairs sort of questions, or the HR related questions. Like how did you divided that this is the time I have to give to XYZ sort of questions that can be asked?
Basically, I made like four pillars to approach this interview. First, being about by myself, anything related to me, my work, my graduation, my place, etc. Second, being the whatever being taught in the insurance, the basics of
Mm,
insurance, what is going on in the insurance world. Third, being the current affairs part, and fourth, being the HR related questions. So
yeah.
every day, I used to take up two pillars and prepare I used to write questions like what can be the expected questions, and then I used to frame my answer. If the particular question will be asked to me, what I can answer. So in that way, I covered holistically what can be
Right.
asked.
And did you give mock interviews as well?
Yes, yes, I applied for the mock interviews.
So, and you really think that mock interviews helps to build your confidence, or you feel like that the real scenarios are like completely different and no mock test can substitute for it?
The mock test definitely help because that will give you a flavor like how you have to go stress, how you have to handle it, and what can the questions be, how you can expect to be framed in that way, and all
Right.
those stuff will definitely help.
And how did your real interview go?
Okay, so what all the questions I have prepared and have been asked in the interview. My interview majorly went to the current affairs like India, China, states, Chhattisgarh, and all those about my views, opinions on particular industry-based questions and all these stuff. So it was mostly an opinion-based kind of interview, I would say. There were hardly one-liner question that I have to answer objective ways.
Yeah.
So they were checking what are my opinion, what I think on these stuffs. So it was bit different what I have prepared, but yes, I
Right.
was able to answer.
Weren't you shocked, or didn't you panic like because you went with a different mindset? And I think in all the interviews, they were of a certain type. And in fact, I think with all the aspirants, usually that sort is only followed. But with you, it was more of opinion based and everything. So weren't you panic from within? And if that question came, then at that time, what did you told yourself?
So I just took a breather for like 1 or 2 seconds. Then I used to think and I used to answer. I didn't. I was like I had to say something, whatever
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Then there were follow up questions, and I took a stand on what I think, why I'm coming with that particular answer. So yes, with the flow I went, and it was good at the end.
Right, right. Okay, so that was about your interview, and I believe in an aspirant life, I think the time between interview and the final merit, it is, I think, the most stressful one, even the one where you are preparing for the exam. So, how was your state of mind at that time? And adding to that, did your like colleagues did they know that you were preparing for this exam? And finally, when the D-Day come, how was it?
Okay, yes, definitely the results time are the most anxious
Stressful, yeah.
time, stressful and anxious both. So as I remember, I continuously checking the website. Okay, it
Hmm.
will come today, 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 and it came very late on Friday evening. But
Yeah.
yes, finally when it came, it was like okay, a huge sigh of relief. I won't
Hmm.
have to go through the process again, and yes,
True.
I'm on that side this time.
True. And like, what was your reaction? Like, family would have been happy, but at office, have you told it about?
No, I was at home at that time. So yes, I was with my family, and it was very
Hmm.
happy time.
Yeah, true, true. All right. So that was it about your journey, and it's very encouraging for a lot of people, who think that maybe should I leave job, or maybe who think that I cannot even prepare for this exam because I have job, right? Because you're a live example over here that if anybody wants to do, they can do, right? So and we really need such interviews with because many people they don't have that economic background that they can leave their job. So if they are having second doubts, I am really sure that your interview is going to help them to give them confidence that they can also, if not do, but at least they can try to do. We really wish you all the very best from our side, from EduTap's family. And at the end, like if you want to say something to the aspirants who want to prepare for this examination, we would be really grateful.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. First of all, and if I have to say something, two things I have to say first. Like prelims now has become very important, the phase one, because we are seeing the cutoffs are increasing every year. So focus on it. Keep preparing for the QRE. Don't lose your touch. And for the descriptive part, consistency, clarity, and content is the key. You
Yeah.
have to be consistent, write every day. You have to be very good with your content, and you have to write it very clear whatever you are writing. And I guess if you ace these three C's, you will be able to see yourself on the other side.
True, true, that's true. Thank you so much for joining with us and
Yeah.
sharing your views. And again, I wish
Thank
you
you, ma'am.
all the very, very best for your future.
Thank you. Thank you.